Hey guys, it's Linux Next here. In today's video, if you don't notice already, today's video is going to be about VR on Linux. I'm going to be showing my experience using the Quest 3 that I got recently on a Linux machine, just to give you guys, if you don't use Linux yet, or if you're wondering if VR on Linux is actually good or not yet, well, this is the video for you, I would say. So I did get a Quest 3 the other day for my birthday, and I have been mostly enjoying it. Besides, you know, it's from Meta, so it's full of pre-installed bloat, I would say, and many other little quirks that make the headset kind of good and kind of bad. But the review isn't really about the Quest 3, it is about how is it when it comes to PCVR on it under Linux. So first off, does the Quest 3 actually work properly on Linux? And yes, it does indeed work. There is two applications that you can use, or rather three that you can use to do either a wired connection or a wireless connection to the Linux machine. So with the VR headset off, if you guys haven't noticed, I've been wearing it for like a couple hours, just watching shows on it. So there is a big red thing over my face because of the headset. But the first software that you can use on Linux, and you can use this on Windows as well if you want to try it out, if you want to do a wireless connection to your PC and do PCVR, is ALVR. Which, as it says in the About thing, stream VR games from your PC to your headset via Wi-Fi. But it also allows you to do a wired connection if you want to do that. And if we have a look through here, you can see the compatibility with the headsets. They even support the Apple Vision Pro, but they, like I said, they do support the Quest 1, 2, 3, 3S, and Pro. I have the 3, and it does work perfectly fine. And if you have a Pico headset, which was the headset I was going to originally get, but then the price went back up. So I was like, well, I can't get that. But if you do have a Pico Neo 3, a 4, or a 4 Ultra, like my friend who is on Linux, you can use those headsets under ALVR or the other piece of software, which I'll mention very soon. And there is plenty of other headsets and things like Android / Monado as well. You can do those things kind of with asterisks. And let's say you do want to use ALVR. What does it actually look like when it comes to configuring and connecting? Well, it's relatively easy. Of course, you just install it from your Linux distro, click launch on it, and then you'll be able to connect to either the wireless connection of the ALVR application that you launch within the headset to connect to it. It should be able to detect to it because when you first set up ALVR, it's going to do the firewall stuff for you. So you don't have to type in any type of manual opening any manual ports. It will do that all for you, and then you'll be able to connect to it. But you also, like I said, you can do a wired connection, which is what I was doing yesterday with PCVR. Then we can go into settings here and we can change a bunch of things, which I have been mucking around with to try and see what is the right encoder preset for the headset, the refresh rate, the codec preset, because for some reason, if I run it under the HEVC codec for my AMD card to encode, it has some weird glitchy problems. So I had to use H.264, which still looks perfectly fine if you have the bitrate high enough. So this is where you can go into video, you can change the mode of the bitrate to constant or adaptive if you want to. Really, I like a constant one because an adaptive, sometimes the quality looks really bad as there's like nothing going on. That may be good for battery life, but personally, I'd rather just stick to constant. And there's many other options where you can enable some like some image issues, like image corruption issues. You can fix those within this application. There's also the audio, which it will create its own separate ALVR audio, so then it can stream it to the headset and it can pick up the headset microphone. So if you're in Discord or something in a call, you can switch the microphone to the headset within Discord or whatever video application, calling application you are using. Then of course you can enable controllers if you want to. You can enable hand skeleton, SteamVR input 2.0. You can enable the haptics for the controller, and you can change the emulation mode of the actual controllers that are being shown within SteamVR, because by default, for me, it was showing the Quest 2 controller, so I changed it to the Quest 3, and it did that without a hassle. And that is basically basically it. I'll show maybe up a clip of me entering ALVR if I have one. If I don't, then I'm sorry. It's probably because it exposes like my desktop's IP address or something. But it's rather easy. You just launch the application within the headset. It will pick it up. You just connect, and then it's going to launch SteamVR, which you'll need a launch command, which I will show right now. If I open up SteamVR, which is this command here, you have to use this launch command with SteamVR so then it can actually work with ALVR, it says. Now, the first problem that you're going to see probably with PCVR using something like SteamVR is the buggy experience with SteamVR itself. There is a lot of weird problems that happen with it, how it behaves, things like the desktop. You can't see the desktop. There's a little button where you can click on to see all your monitors, or your main monitor, I think it is. It doesn't work because, well, SteamVR is running under Wayland, and Valve just haven't fixed that problem yet. So if you want to see your desktop, there is a separate application that I'm going to talk about very soon that allows you to see all your other monitors and such and more. But yeah, SteamVR is a rather buggy experience on the stable version. If you want the best experience when it comes to newer features and fixes for SteamVR, you should be switching to the beta version of SteamVR when you're using something like ALVR, which is pretty easy. You just, go to SteamVR in your Steam library, go to properties, and then we want to go to betas and select the beta SteamVR beta update. Now, the next application I'm going to talk about is called WIVRN. That's how I'm going to say it. There's probably some other way of saying it. This is also a VR dashboard for Linux. I don't think you can use this on Windows. It says here, the Linux Open XR streaming application to standalone headsets. So this is only for Linux. And like I said, it's made to use the OpenXR runtime, which is a more newer standard that is used now when it comes to VR or AR, whatever you want to call it, augmented reality or XR. It's more widely used than something like OpenVR, which is funny how it's called OpenVR, but I've seen that it's proprietary and it's made by Valve. But this application does similar thing to ALVR, but it tries to skip SteamVR. So if you don't want to use SteamVR, but you still want to try and play VR games, but you want to skip it, this is the application I would say if you are using a headset like a Pico or a Quest headset, and many others like the HTC Vive, the HTC Vive Focus 3, the Vive XR Elite, and most other Android-based headsets. And when it comes to installing this application, it's rather simple. You can either get it on FlatHub or you can get it from the AUR. If you're on Arch, you can also get it on Fedora, and you can get it for the Gentoo, which is surprisingly available. And then of course, you just need to install the application on the headset itself. So you can launch it, you can grab it from like the Meta store or whatever, if you're on a Meta headset, or from the Pico store. You probably have to sideload it, I'm guessing, if you're on Pico, because it probably doesn't have it available. And then you want to make sure this service, or Damien, is running, which provides a simple command, and you make sure that that package is actually installed. And then you also need to add the firewall ports. WIVRN is not going to add those for you. You're going to have to do that manually. So for me, it would be like through Firewall D, and that's pretty simple to do. I just add it as open ports, and then I restart my computer usually, and then it should just work. Now, this is where one of the problems start to happen with using WIVRN. If you're using, playing a VR game that is under OpenXR and it's not under OpenVR, you should be fine for the most part. And there's a great website that you can go to check out compatibility now when it comes to what games actually work under Linux when it comes to VR games, and that's called db.vronlinux.org. This is a rather big, kind of like ProtonDB, kind of like exactly like ProtonDB, where you can report the problems that you've had, or how good it works on what particular software that you're using to try and get VR working on Linux for whatever game. So for example, like No Man's Sky, you can kind of see different face reactions for like how good it is playing No Man's Sky under each type of application that I've like mentioned so far, like ALVR and WIVRN, or Monado, or just basic SteamVR if you're using something like a Vive or a Index, whatever it's called. And you can see a lovely report by the users to see, what issues it has, and then what device they were using and what GPU they were using, which is really important, I would say. For me, when it comes to using AMD on Linux, it's been a rather easy experience. And when it comes to VR, it also has been a pretty easy experience. And I would expect that on an NVIDIA GPU, it should be basically almost the exact same experience. And you probably will get better things like when it comes to using like NVENC or something for encoding, even though WALLPAPER is pretty good on AMD GPUs on Linux today anyways. But to get back to the main problem at hand, to talk about WIVRN, is if a game is using OpenVR, which is made by Valve, a proprietary VR solution for VR games, if you are trying to play those games, so let's say the games that I want to play, which is sim racing games, either it be Assetto Corsa Competizione, or it be Dirt Rally 2.0, those games, I'm pretty sure, especially Dirt Rally 2, they utilize OpenVR, and what VRN has to do is use a thing called Open Composite, or another one is called XRiser. And well, if you look at XRiser, for example, it's basically a translation layer. It tries to translate OpenVR games to OpenXR as best as it can. And this is where you'll start to get into issues if you're trying to play those games through something like WIVRN or Monado, for example, which Monado, you can use something called Envision. This is a GUI application that allows you to build a VR profile, for example, of like, let's say you want to use WIVRN if you want to on the headset. You can build a VR profile within Envision, and then it uses Monado plus it uses either XRiser or Open Composite to try and get that OpenVR game to work properly. So if we do open up WIVRN, because I actually haven't shown that yet, it's a pretty simple UI. You do the same thing as ALVR. You launch the application in the headset. You launch it. It should appear with a pairing code. You type in the pairing code, it connects, and then you want to use this launch command here, which allows it to like skip. I'm guessing it allows it to skip SteamVR, and it's going to directly try and use WIVRN, and it's going to try and use OpenXR instead. So you would just copy this, for example, and let's say we want to do on like Dirt Rally 2, and then we just paste it in the launch command here, and then we play the game, and it should skip SteamVR, and then it's going to try and use OpenXR, or in this case, it's going to try and use a translation layer to try and do it. And of course, when it comes to the other things you can do in WIVRN, you can go into the settings here, you can go to the encoder layout if you want to, and customize all that, either it be a low latency preset, and if we do click on low latency, it's going to bring up different sections where you can like resize them. You can also change the actual codecs that are being used. So let's say we want to use WALLPAPER for my AMD GPU. I can then switch the codec from either Auto, H.264, H.265, or AV1, even though AV1 is not supported on my GPU. I could try that even though it wouldn't work. And of course, you can change the bitrate, and then the OpenVR compatibility layer, which you have XRiser and Open Composite to try. Now, if you do want a overlay to allow you to see your other monitors within the VR game, there is a really good project that I have been using and trying out that is called Wlxoverlay S, and it is to access your Wayland/X11 desktop from Monado/WIVRN/SteamVR now with Vulkan. So this is really nice, I would say. Here's a picture of what it looks like when you have it like fully opened. For me, like you can pull it up on your wrist or whatever, that's like the clock area. Then you can whip up your monitors and then pull them around, resize them if you want to. You can also check like the time and all that, and then customize the actual widget itself that appears on your wrist. And I will show up gameplay of actually launching this so you guys can actually see like when I launch all my monitors and such. We could actually try it right now, I guess. Yeah, why not? We'll try it right now. So as you can see, we do have the Quest 3 connected through ALVR. We clicked on Trust to get the headset connected in the launcher or like dashboard, and now we have SteamVR launched. And if we do pick up the controllers here, we can actually see that it is indeed working, and we can click and all the buttons work. But as I said before, in SteamVR, if we click on desktop, as you can see, it's completely bugged out. It's a black, for some reason, it's widescreen as well, and it's just showing my cursor, which actually is working, but it's extremely laggy. So yeah, that's the experience when it comes to the desktop thing. But what I did want to show you was the overlay, which we can launch right now, I'm pretty sure, or we do need to launch a game. So I think we'll launch a game first, then I'll show the overlay. So let's try Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, when it comes to the other parts of SteamVR, it does seem to work pretty okay. There has been some like performance things that I've heard of, which I have experienced where I really have to dial down my graphics settings and the resolution of the headset so that I don't have a laggy experience. When it comes to actually SteamVR itself, it's pretty okay. It does the job for now, I would say, and I really do hope that Valve themselves really improve this and do a big overhaul, because it's long overdue, I would say, and especially with their own headset that is releasing soon. That is supposed to be running Linux on it itself, so that could mean, and we have seen this where SteamVR is being improved and fixed when it comes to the Linux VR experience. And the other thing is that the audio is indeed working. I don't think I have it selected in OBS, so you guys probably can't hear the audio sounds of SteamVR because it's getting routed to the headset through ALVR audio, and I don't have that selected in OBS. But now it's time to actually enable, and this is one of the other bugs that happens. Every time you launch a game, it kicks you out of the game back into SteamVR, and you have to click this and then return to game. Just little annoyances with SteamVR, honestly, that make the experience not so great, I would say. But overall, it's okay, I would say. Like, it actually does work, and that's the main thing. But as we can see, if you guys can see this, the game is indeed working. So now if we do launch the overlay, WLX overlay, it's already configured for me. So it's going to open up a terminal window and it's going to ask you your monitors, and it's going to appear with a portal where you can select each monitor like you do in OBS, or when you do a Discord screen share on Linux. It's going to appear with that portal. You select all the monitors. It seems to route things through a pipewire capture, which makes sense with the portal, and then that is it. So with WLX, you can just launch it and it's going to bring up a portal picker where you can select each monitor that it's asking for, which we just need to read through here which monitor it's asking. So like right now it's asking for the main monitor. Now it is a bit buggy, I would say. Like right now I'm trying to pick the monitors and it keeps failing to launch the portal, and I have to keep relaunching WLX until I'm able to select all the monitors. So we go through this again, we click Xiaomi, then we click our main one, and then we pick the Samsung one, which is the cheap one. And now that's basically it. It should be working now if we do put the headset back on. And as we can see here in the game, on my wrist, there is the time. It shows other times as well. We control the volume if we want to, and then we can select our monitors. So if we do this, oh, look at that. We can see a monitor down there. And to pick up the monitor, I have to use a button on the side of my controller. And as we can see, we can float this around. This is the Samsung monitor, which is a 60Hz 1080p monitor. Seems to be working fine. We can select the other monitor, which we can see down here. We just grab it again, and there we go. We can move the other monitor right here. And then we can see what things are going on. So like if you have Discord open, for example, you can easily look over, and you can control the cursor. As you can see, it's literally controlling the cursor with my controller, which is pretty cool also. And then if you want to know more about this, you can click this C button here, and it will bring up a menu of things like the watch, like the rotation, the visibility, the cutoff point, the behavior, the play space, the mirrors, color gain, if you want to do that stuff, and then you can actually like save the config and all that so that it remembers it. Now, one of the applications that I mentioned and around like the middle of the video very quickly was about Envision, which is a graphical app that acts as an orchestrator to get a full Monado or WIVRN setup up and running with a few clicks. Envision attempts to construct a working runtime with both a native OpenXR and OpenVR API provided by OpenComposite. For client applications to utilize, please note that OpenVR implementation is incomplete and contains only what's necessary to run most games for compatibility. If you plan to implement software utilizing the OpenXR API specification here. So if you want to use Envision, because I think it's a pretty cool application, even though it is highly experimental right now, I would say, people have used it to get better compatibility or more compatibility out of trying to get either a better experience with OpenXR or trying to get that translation layer with OpenVR games to work better under Monado with Envision and then with Open Composite or Xriser, which I said before is another translation layer that is the exact vision, same vision as Open Composite. So to set up Envision, it's pretty easy. You can grab it from the ALVR. They say, I think we recommend against using Envision if your distro is NixOS. So if you are using NixOS, click on this page here, I would say, which I'll leave a link for this GitLab where you can go through and read all of the wiki for VR, which there is a ton to go through, I would say. There's like a lot of different projects. But yeah, if you're on NixOS, I would definitely click on this link to see, how to set up Envision properly. But yeah, if you're on Arch, you're able to grab it through the ALVR and then we can launch it here, which it is a nice GUI. It's an ALVRA GTK application. Looks very nice. And then what we can do is either click start to pick the profile that we want to choose. So there's a bunch of different profiles for different types of VR headsets, and I did read a wiki of which one is for which headset. So for me, I have basically an Android VR headset and I want to do it wirelessly, so I pick WIVRN. But if you don't have one of those, and let's say you have like a Vive Index or something, then you'd probably choose one of the other ones like the Open HMD or the Lighthouse, etc. And then like it says here, it wants me to switch my power profile to the VR power profile for my AMD GPU, which is rather easy to use. You can use LACT for that. So you can just install that. It's widely available. You can open it, go to OC, go to performance level, go to manual, and then select it as VR. Now for me personally, I haven't experienced any problems leaving it on automatic. I was just testing games, especially in sim racing like Dirt Rally 2. I didn't experience any type of like stutters or anything on the automatic power profile, probably because maybe it was switching it properly or something. But if you do have stutters on an AMD GPU under VR, you will need to switch it to the VR power profile. And then you just click start and it's going to, use WIVRN, you connect it, and then you basically try and do the same thing where you try to play games either through OpenXR, which they should work most of the time pretty okay, or like OpenVR games, it goes through a translation layer and you can see if it works or not. Like for me, Dirt Rally 2, it brings up an error about something that's unimplemented, either through Open Composite or Xriser, which is pretty disappointing. I would have liked to play Dirt Rally 2 straight from like WIVRN, but I can't. Now, the last one I wanted to talk about is virtual desktops on Linux, as it's I would say, a rather important topic that people may want to do. Maybe they don't want monitors, they just want a VR headset and they want to call it a day and have a bunch of different virtual monitors set up, so then they don't have to actually buy a bunch of monitors. And on Linux, you can, at least for this headset and probably some other Android VR headsets, you can use an application which is called Immersed. And it's an okay application, I would say, but running it under Wayland, you're not able to create as many virtual monitors as you want, which is what they showed in the marketing when it came to their website, where you can create like a bunch of different monitors and all that. But under a Wayland desktop like GNOME or KD Plasma, it only grabs the monitors that you actually have. I'm guessing maybe in the future they would be able to do that, because something like KD Plasma with the portals, it can create a separate virtual monitor output. So this is 100% possible. This can be done. It's just something that Immersed haven't done. And I do have gameplay, which I will show up right now, of Immersed, of all the monitors set up, and it's pretty good when it comes to its latency. There is a low latency mode that you can enable. So if you want to use, Immersed with virtual monitors in VR, even though the monitors are like literally right in front of you, maybe you want to, use the monitors in your lounge room or something, you are able to do that on Linux, at least under X11 or Wayland. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is Minecraft VR, as I do actually have Minecraft installed under Prism Launcher. And you can use a mod called Vivecraft to get Minecraft VR, and it does indeed work. If we do launch it here, and what we need to do is first launch SteamVR, as that will be a required thing. I'm pretty sure you can, as you say, it just spawned the VR view without my permission. You can use things like WIVRN if you want to try and skip SteamVR, but I don't know how to do that right now. I only know how to do it through SteamVR. So if someone does know how to do that, comment down below. But what we want to do here is close this. We want to launch SteamVR through Steam because it doesn't work properly when it first tries to launch it. And then if we click VR on, so as we can see here, what we have to do first, like I said, is we have to launch SteamVR before we launch Minecraft, which it is picking up hand tracking, which is pretty damn cool, I would say. And yeah, if we see here, I don't know if you guys can see it, let me full screen it real quick. Window full screen. We can click single player, which you can pick up the controllers actually, this will just be easier. And as you can see, it is working and actually works really well. We can see everything here. We can use the joysticks to move around, which feels perfectly fine. I would say there's no stutters or anything that I have noticed with this. Only that the field of view is a bit low, but that's just the thing with this game, I guess. You can't really change the field of view. Maybe with mods you can change it, but when it comes to does SteamVR actually work or Minecraft VR work on Linux? Well, yeah, it does indeed work, and it works really well. And the last thing to talk about is the amazing community, because there is a bunch of different knowledge when it comes to VR on Linux. If you want to know if your headset works properly, you can go to either LVRA.GitLab and learn basically everything you could learn about Linux VR, I would say, when it comes to the VR headset compatibility, or when it comes to something like VRChat, which if you want to use VRChat on Linux and you want to fix some of the issues that may appear, like codec problems that appear, you can use a custom Proton runner, which is called, it's based on GE Proton, it's called like RTSP, I'm pretty sure, and you can use an application like Proton Plus, find it here. We select Steam, we find Proton GE RTSP, which is a Steam compatibility tool based on Proton GE with additional patches to improve RTSP codecs for VRChat. So you can use this to improve the experience in VRChat. If you're someone who is really into VRChat, you can do that. And then, of course, the last one, which I've already mentioned a bunch, is the db.vr on linux.org. It is a great place to look at if a game is going to work on Linux through VR, either it be something like an OpenVR game or an OpenXR game, and then what dashboard application does it work well on. Now, I will be doing a follow-up video of VR on Linux. I'm going to do a part 2 because I don't actually have many VR games, especially the popular ones that people play. Either it be something like Beat Saber, I know that's a popular one, and many others. So the conclusion with VR on Linux so far, like part 1 of this VR Linux journey, I would say, that I'm having on Linux right now, is pretty weird. I would say VR on Linux is in a weird spot at the moment. When it comes to SteamVR, if you use the beta version and you have a headset that's well supported, like the Quest 3 is, I would say, pretty well supported. If you use something like ALVR and it does work for you, you can have a decent experience. And when it comes to the other stuff like WIVRN or Envision with WIVRN, you can have a pretty alright experience depending on the game. And that's the real big point, is the headsets, the software that you want to use, and then if the games are actually going to work properly or not, because I've seen many people have many different issues with controller things not working properly, or missed extensions when it comes to the translation layers with Open Composite and Xriser. So when it comes to the experience, it can be different for everybody, I would say. For me, I'm going to continue to use ALVR and with SteamVR, and then I'll just watch over WIVRN if it improves. And then, of course, if it does improve, I'll probably do another video about using that software and how it's gotten really good, and the games that I play are starting to work properly with those applications. So if you guys did enjoy this rather I would say long video about VR on Linux. I'd love to know your thoughts about VR on Linux, and if you have an experience with VR on Linux, what has your experience been like? I'd really love to know. And of course, you guys can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. Also, we are at like 13,000 or 13,100 or something subscribers, which is just truly insane, I would say. And I really do appreciate everyone watching the video, liking it, commenting, whatever it may be. Oh, well, dead block. Cool. And thank you to my supporters. I'll show a text across the screen. Thank you for giving me money every single damn month. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.